conducted very recently. We've seen across the sectors the capacity utilization being somewhere around 75 to 80% in most cases. So, which means that obviously more investments are coming in from the private sector is pretty much there. And as was mentioned, other sectors and other groups are also looking at uh, pretty much coming out clearly from the recent survey, which we can, of course, share with you offline too. Mohit Bhalla, Ichi now.
Hi, Chandra. This is Mohit Bala from the Economic Times, actually. It's just a small correction. Just a simple question. What are the one or two outcomes that you expect from this congregation of, so many people over the next couple of days? Um, your expectation on that?
I think great question. I think for me the most important thing is the uh, outreach in terms of the recommendations, because the subjects are fully aligned in terms of I don't think there will be any dispute whether you talk to media or whether you talk to businessmen or government, that we need to get the world onto digital and AI transition, because the benefits are very visible and everybody can see the potential, but it has to be done in a responsible way. So how do we unlock that potential? Similarly, you talk climate transition. Similarly, when you talk about how do we really help the MSMEs across the globe, how do you put money in their hands? How do you make it easy for them? And there are very clear recommendations. Similarly, climate financing. So I hope that the, the recommendations themselves and all the discussions, because we have a very large number of participants and we've got important business people from every part of the world. So if we can get the mind share and then we can have the follow-up mechanism so that we can continue this dialogue, because whatever will be the final recommendations, there'll be additions tomorrow, there'll be tweaks tomorrow. So how do we engage in that process on an ongoing basis? If we can achieve these two, then I think we would have made a huge impact.
Last, if no one else, Chetan Bhutani of India Today. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Uh, my question to you would be on the rising global inflation and recessionary fears. You mentioned about 54 policy decisions that the various task forces have submitted. Is there a point of discussion on these two topics, sir? And would you be recommending such measures to the government as well in the times to come?
So there are two questions. First of all, to my mind, it's now low growth, low inflation. The inflation actually coming down. The problem is more growth. Okay. And I think the latest I've heard is that uh, there's unlikely to be a recession anywhere. The issue is more growth. So there are some recommendations on um, promoting growth, economic growth, and promoting trade and promoting investments. That's a theme which is integrated with global supply chains. So that is one uh, task force. So you will find recommendations on that, and we also have some very strong economic views that will be expressed in the conference.
Last, Shovik Das, Mint.
Hi. Sir, two-part question linked to both your mention of the building up a resilient global supply chain as well as regulation of AI. Given that there are different nations adopting different regulations, is it possible for multiple nations to sort of comply or agree upon a common sort of regulation to kind of have a supply chain that also interoperates while serving nations of their own purpose?
You're talking two different topics. Uh, the supply chain is a topic which all businesses will agree that we need both efficiency and resilience. And there are multiple times I have also spoken about it, that what India should focus on is the India plus supply chain which provides an alternative. And that is a real possibility, whether it is in electronics, whether it is in um, high-tech manufacturing or semiconductors, or you talk about um, defense, or you talk about pharmaceuticals, you talk about any industry, um, it is a huge possibility, and we need to build the whole ecosystem. The supply chain is ecosystem play. Nobody can do it alone. India, because of its size and a vast talent pool, significant advantage that we have, we should take the lead. But we need to work with other nations. The second one is on generative AI. Yes, there is a regulatory frameworks required. I mean, the question is not, you don't want to start by saying, is it possible? We need to work towards making it possible. So anytime you need to, most of it is about building scenarios and educating, because the technology is moving very fast. And for every possible positive case, there is always a negative case. So that is why it's very important to talk about it, important to champion it, and create the regulatory frameworks.
So, any wrap-up comments from your side, please? Yeah.
I think the point I would like to make is that it has been an incredible 9 months for me personally. I've had the opportunity to work with a very, very large number of top people giving time. So the quality of output that has come is very, very, very good, very strong. Lot of thought has gone in, lot of inputs have gone in. We've got US view, we've got Western view, we've got the emerging market view, we've got the views of the global South, we've got views of business people, we've got views of multilateral organizations, we've got an employment view. So the engagements have been very, very intense, and the people who will be participating have all been part of the whole exercise. So what you will hear is an experience that has come through over a lot of deliberations over the last several months. And I think if we can build consensus and get mind share, because in the audience you have a large number of business leaders, again from across the world, as Chandrajit said, across 55 countries. So we have all the right people there. We need to build that mind share and consensus. If we can do that, we can start to follow through, especially after the recommendations have been submitted to the G20, because the G20 has to deliberate on these recommendations. And whatever is the final outcome, if we can follow through, I really think that we can make a very good impact in the areas that I mentioned. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Definitely there'll be a lot of learning sitting there for 2 days. Thank you all very much for being here and being there tomorrow.